Hey everyone, how you doing today? It's David. I'm in my Beatles corner. Gonna talk about the Beatles again. That's why you're tuning in, right? So in a recent video, I unboxed this gem of an album, the Beatles Rarities, quote unquote, which was released as part of the BC-13 box set back in the late 70s going into the early 80s. At least here in the States, people were opening up those box sets, record stores, I should say, and selling this record separately because it was not released in the United States. So, as I mentioned in that video, the content of that album largely weren't rarities for us. And because of the popularity of this record album, Capitol Records in 1980 decided to release their own version of the Rarities album. And this is a much better album that we got here in the States than they got elsewhere in the world, all right? Why is that? Well, we actually got true rarities on this album. This is what we got. So, the original version of Love Me Do with Ringo on the drums. I never knew that existed. Misery and There's a Place, which were on Introducing the Beatles here in the States, but that album was long out of print. She Liebt Dich, the German version of She Loves You, which did appear on that Blue Rarities album. And now here's where things got interesting. We got a version of And I Love Her from the German Something New album that had the guitar riff at the end, guitar riff, not the rift, riff at the end was repeated 6 times, not just 4. We got a mono version of Help off of the British version of the album. I'm Only Sleeping was off of the British Revolver album, which had it was a different mix than what we got here in the States. I Am the Walrus, Capitol took 2 versions with extra beats at the beginning of the song and then an extra beat right after where John sings Yellow Master Custard. Gave us a new version, a new rarity. We got Penny Lane that was off of the Canadian promo single that had the extra few notes at the end of the song. Mono versions of Helter Skelter and Don't Pass Me By. We got The Inner Light, which was only on the Lady Madonna single. Across the Universe, which Inner Light and Across the Universe and You Know My Name, Look Up the Number. These 3 songs appeared on the British Rarities album, but they were rarities for us. And the Sgt. Pepper Inner Groove. So here's a little close-up look at this album. All right, so here's a closer look at, well, this is my copy of the Beatles Rarities from here in the U.S. And, you know, look at this cover. So much nicer than the British version, isn't it? All right, so let's take a look-see inside and see what we got. So here's the gatefold cover. Inside, we've got the butcher cover shot from Yesterday and Today. Obviously, it doesn't have any of the writing on it, but that was right off the bat a nice little collectible item that Capitol gave us. On the other side of the gatefold, we've got some full color photos of the lads, including the original trunk cover picture, because on the released version of Yesterday and Today, it was all airbrushed behind the lads from Liverpool. Some nice concert pictures, Ed Sullivan picture, the Strawberry Fields Forever single picture, and a press conference picture. Let's take a look now at the back cover. And here's the back cover. So this is something I feel Capitol really excelled at. Not only do we see the track listing, but we got little tidbits about each song and even where the source material came from. If like on Love Me Do, the master tapes were lost or tossed out. So shows you where they sourced the song from, and what the differences are on each of the songs on the album, as well as songs that, like You Know My Name, Look Up the Number, wasn't released on an album, making it a rarity. Mono versions from the White Album. Even the Sgt. Pepper in a Groove, where here in the States we never even knew that was on Sgt. Pepper. So here it is. We get that in its whole 2-second entirety in full stereo on this album. And some more pictures. So, really compared to the cover of the British version, oh man, this is just in itself a treasure trove. But let's take a look at the inner sleeve. Here's the inner sleeve we got. The front, the back, or maybe the back and the front. But just more photos of the Beatles. And again, just a deluxe, nice inner sleeve. And then here's the label, that retro capital rainbow label that we all knew and loved from back in the 60s. I mean, look at that. I mean, this was just deluxe all the way. Capitol Records gave us here in the States. So let's chat a little bit more about this album. So there you have it. I really enjoy this record, and something I enjoy about it is, well, a few things. Songs are in chronological order, not like the Beatles Rarities album. You have true rarities, and even if Capitol had to fudge things and give us things that weren't audiophile quality, it sounds great anyway. Okay, I'm enjoying the music. I'm not overanalyzing. And then I've been wondering, what if could EMI or whoever, Apple, whoever, is issuing the albums now, could they issue a new Rarities album? I think so. Off the top of my head, I came up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 songs that could be contenders for a new version of Rarities. Rarities 3, probably. And here's what I came up with. Maybe you have some ideas that aren't on my list. And I'm kind of fudging a couple of the songs too. All My Lovin', from the German With the Beatles album, as well as the Beatles' Greatest album, which was Germany, and it was later repressed in the Netherlands. All My Lovin' has a hi-hat intro, goes pss, 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 and then close your eyes and I'll yeah, so that's a rarity. The version of And I Love Her that's on this album with the extra riff at the end would, and it's a different mix as well, could easily be a rarity on a new album. I'll Cry Instead off of the US A Hard Day's Night album, which is over here, the album over here, and it's a song off that album. That has an extra verse in it. Well, it's one of the verses, the first verse is repeated at the end. That's a rarity. There's different versions of the song I Call Your Name. I know of at least, I think, 3, whereas you have the cowbell start right at the beginning, you have the cowbell start right after the opening guitar riff, and then the cowbell starts after John starts singing. So any one of those could make it onto a Rarities album. The next two I have, I Feel Fine and She's a Woman. Both of those have those heavy reverb mixes off of Beatles 65. Or if you don't want to do that, British version of I Feel Fine that was on their 62 to 66 album has this mysterious whispering at the beginning. I think that's also on my Beatles in Italy album. Help, with the James Bond style music right before the song starts off of the US album. That's a rarity. I mean, that's something we Americans pretty much cherish. The US stereo version of Rubber Soul has that false start at the beginning of the song. That's a rarity. Plus, I'm sure the mix is a little different. The U.S. Revolver version of I'm Only Sleeping. No, no. The U.S. Yesterday and Today version of I'm Only Sleeping. Um, that's a different mix as well, because here in the States we got a really early mix of that song. They had remixed it for the British Revolver album later when that was released. I Am the Walrus off of the Rarities album here, and Penny Lane with that extra little riff at the end. Um, Still a rarity. Are there songs I'm missing? Because really, between the reissue albums, the past masters, um, a lot of what's on this album is now not so rare anymore for today's audiences, but obviously there's at least 11 songs out there that would make a good rarities album. So leave your thoughts in the comments below, and I'm probably going to listen to this album again. So until next time, it's me, David, collecting the Beatles, and I think this album, whether they do a new one or not, should be in your collection because there was some rare stuff on it. So we'll catch you next time. Thanks so much for watching.